And welcome to another episode of the Crawford Podcasting Network. Down the blocks with former Michigan pivot man Chris Young, number 45, out of Plymouth, Michigan, played for Detroit Catholic Central. His smile has been going ear to I could hear you smile or see you smile through your text messages last night. See why?
Oh, for sure.
After that win, the Wolverines knocked down the Buckeyes 92-87. This was number 3 versus number 4 in the country. This had Final Four caliber look to it, feel to it. Just the optic appreciation. Let's just roll to Chris Young. Give me your takes.
It was one of those games where you hated to see it end. You love the result that Michigan won, but it's just like you wanted the game to keep going. You wanted someone to come down and hit some kind of crazy shot just to give us 5 more minutes. Let's go to overtime one time. Just something. It just you didn't want it to stop because it was just so good. There were so many amazing plays and great shooting for both sides and great defensive plays, and there's not a whole lot else you can say. I actually just rewatched the second half a little while ago, and with about 13 minutes left to go in the second half, it was like 55-55. And in my head, I know Michigan gets to freaking 92, and it's like, oh my God, this is just they're about to score 40 points in 13 minutes, and they just went out there and they were just lights out. It was unreal. I don't have the proper words to describe the emotion I was feeling watching this game, and then rewatching it yesterday, and then rewatching it today because it was that much fun.
Yeah, it's fun to rewatch when your team wins, and it's a little bit sweeter. And then, speaking of sweet, let's talk to the kid who played your position, Hunter Dickinson. This is almost like a man among boys in terms of sheer height. 7 foot or 7'2", whatever it is. And he's got four forwards flinging their bodies at him that didn't do any good. He reversed the ball. I've never seen a guy, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, catch the ball in congestion and shoot it, put it up on the glass and score in such quick order. It's almost digitized. It's like the ball's absorbed and then it's put in the hoop. Quicker than anybody I've ever seen. It's magical what Hunter Dickinson.
And I know which play you're talking about. Late in the second half, Smith drove to the baseline and just basically left the ball there for him. And he comes out of nowhere, grabs it, pump fake, spin dribbles, and dunks on everybody all in one motion. I'm a center. I used to be able to do something close to that, but I couldn't do it like that. That was an NBA caliber. I don't care who's in front of me. I'm just dunking this ball. It's amazing to watch. And, he always likes to post up on the right block. And being left-handed, that's a little strange to see a guy that always likes to post up out there. But he's one of those rare few guys that he posts up on that right block and likes to spin to the baseline to get to that jump hook. But he throws those hook passes with his right hand, especially early in the first half. And he's finding shooters on the opposite wings and stuff like that. It's unbelievable. That is an incredibly hard thing that he is doing with his offhand, typically throwing it around at least one guy, if not a double team, and making perfect passes with his offhand. He didn't play great offensively in the first half, but man, the stuff he did in the second half was just.
He's phenomenal.
He's an all Big Ten player after that performance. Freshman of the week again, and all the accolades and all that.
Name the award.
He impressed me with everything he was able to do.
He'll have it 7 times. It's just. Not enough words to describe. And I'm going to tell you something about him. We learned in the post game. Juwan talked about on Saturday night before the game. Hunter went to Coach Howard and wanted to break down film with him. Okay, this kid's got a little Tom Brady-esque to him in terms of so determined to win the game and get better. He's breaking down film with his coach on, and his suggestion. What am I doing wrong? What do I need to do this and do that Saturday night before the game? That tells you something about how dedicated that young man is.
I don't want to say it's unheard of as a freshman, as an 18, 19-year-old, but that's just about unheard of.
Yeah, he's a 20-year-old, but still.
You don't do that. You typically get called in. It's like, okay, come on, CY, come and sit down. We're going to look at these last couple games, and you've been messing up here and here and here. It's not, hey, coach, what am I doing wrong, and how do I get better? With the number 3 in the country, he's one of the top 2, 3, 4 big men in the entire country. And yet he's trying to get better as a freshman. That just you don't see that. You really don't.
No, you don't see that, and you also don't see a couple of grad transfers seamlessly join this team. Mike Smith Shawnee Brown. Shawnee Brown is out there showing so much freaking energy. He nails 3 open threes. He's jumping out of the gym. His jump shots have so much elevation. And he told one of his teammates before the game, I am liking these rims. So I mean, he was feeling the game. He knew he was going to have a good game before the game even started.
Yeah.
And look what happened. He was just tremendous. Mike Smith, he got he got hit on the temple. I thought that didn't look good. I mean, the guy is tougher than nails. He continues to do the job. Eli Brooks. I mean, where do we start? I mean, we had 5 guys, CY, in double figures, and then you had Franz Wagner, who did not have one of his better games, still had 9 points and made some big plays. This is a complete basketball team.
But again, you saying Franz didn't have one of his better games. He didn't have one of his better offensive games. Yeah. But again, he was in the middle of everything. 6 rebounds, 4 assists. I mean, he was just mixing it up, and he was just in the middle of everything. He was facilitating stuff when his shot wasn't falling. And there was a number of times where I thought he caught the ball outside the 3 and thought about it instead of just shooting it, took a little shuffle dribble, and then shot it, and he was kind of off balance. Like, just shoot the first one. It was almost like he was hesitating a little bit. So, I mean, it's pick your poison with this team. It really is. You're going to get it from somebody. Who are you going to get it from? If your scouting report is just on Livers and Dickinson, well, then Shawnee Brown and Eli Brooks are going to step up. It's just, it's about as complete of a team as I've seen Michigan have in a very long time.
The other thing is, I talked to some Michigan State basketball players who sheepishly are saying, "Damn, you got a pretty good team there." I mean, it's like they're watching Michigan. Other people are watching Michigan and saying, "Wow, I wish my team would distribute the basketball as unselfishly as they do." When you start looking, it's easier for me to watch the game and replay because I'm wired, tired, and a drum during the game. I'm just being the Michigan fan here, and I'm not enjoying it analytically as much as I will after the game. So I replay it kind of like you do. I'll typically do that, and I'll do that this week with the Ohio State game. And it's like you just marvel at the court awareness of this team. Mike Smith had never been on this team before. It looks like he's been playing with these other cats since his freshman year. He's a grad transfer from Columbia, Ivy League.
Yep.
What a job he's doing.
I mean, talk about just fitting in seamlessly, doing exactly what the coaches need him to do, whether it's distribute the ball or score or just be the leader out there and telling guys where to go and we're running this offense and let's go. It's just been, like you said, you can't tell that he just joined the team this year. If you didn't know anything about Michigan basketball, you think, oh man, Xavier Simpson came back for another year and all of a sudden he learned how to shoot.
Yeah.
Because he just fits in that well with everybody, that the chemistry, just the way they look at each other and they talk to each other, their interactions on the court during dead balls and free throws and things like that. You'd never know that he just joined the team, 6-8 months ago.
No, you're exactly right. And then back, how can we go any further without talking about Isaiah Livers? Isaiah did not have a great game against Rutgers shooting wise, and he struggled out of the shoot, if you will, in this game, but found, still hit some shots, ended up with 12 points, and he had that steal, that lazy pass backhand, the ball was laying out there. He just took off with it.
Yeah.
This guy, he just makes plays, play after play, and the leadership. Once again, you look at the facial expressions, how he communicates with everybody, how he's communicating to Hunter, how he's communicating Austin Davis, who I thought in 11 minutes or 10 and a half minutes of play, he was a positive. He made some big plays. He knows where he is when he gets that pumpkin down underneath the hoop.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He does exactly what he's supposed to do. Takes a couple of dribbles and gets right to the rim. He's not taking a couple of dribbles and shooting, little fadeaway jump shots. He's getting there and he's shooting hook shots or he's dunking it. And his game has actually kind of changed from what it was even last year, where he would really last year he tried to spin baseline and he was trying all the up and unders and the spins and doing all this kind of stuff. Now he's literally getting the ball on the block and saying, I'm taking 2 dribbles and going to the middle and you can't stop me.
Yeah.
And he's getting to a spot. He's giving him the little, the Big Ten elbow and going up and laying it up. And, there's nothing you can do. If you're going to let him get to those spots, I mean, it's a bucket. He's got to be shooting 70% from those shots. But he just knows his role. He knows he gets in there. He plays hard. and come on back out. And he fills in perfectly.
Yeah. The bench got a little bit shorter. I mean, it didn't go to the 9 or 10 deep that some does sometimes. I mean, Brandon John still got over 9 minutes, and he did a couple. He had a bucket.
Yep.
It's like everybody, and then when they go sit down, I mentioned this the other day, as well as the entire bench. Once again, the family aspect of this team, team unity. Nobody's bigger than the team. They're all excited as if they were scoring the baskets out there. These guys on the bench. I marvel at that more than anything.
Yeah, well, and that's a tribute to the coaching staff that brought these guys together, and just the mentality that starts with Juwan and works its way down through Livers and Brooks, and it just kind of trickles down to everybody to the last guy on the bench, where they love their brothers that they're on the team with. They thoroughly enjoy being around them, and they get a lot of enjoyment out of the other guy's success. And you don't always see that. You could see somebody like Nunez sitting on the bench. It's like, shit, I'm supposed to be playing. Yeah, okay, I'll clap a little bit, but I'm supposed to be out there because I'm better than this guy or whatever. You don't see any of that. There's none of that with anybody.
You can't fake, and you can't fake that. You can't fake it. Because we're all human, and these guys are competitors. All these kids put a ton of time in to play at Michigan. I don't, if they're a scholarship kid at Michigan, you're in a different category. That's not normal to play at that high a level at all. And so when you see,
and to get back to the whole mentality of the team, I don't know what the entire backstory is, but I saw a tweet by CJ Baird that he wasn't allowed to travel with the team.
I saw that.
Like that.
Yes.
And the first thing Juwan does, he turns around, claps to the crowd, and gives him one of these and points right at him. And he's sitting up in the. It's like that just shows you. That just shows you the love he's got for all of these guys and how they're all a part of it. I mean, he jumped in his car and drove down to Columbus because he couldn't be with the team for whatever reason, because he just wanted to be there and support his guys.
Well, all they can travel is so many. I mean, do you know what that travel limitation is? I didn't know there was one.
I don't know, and I really don't know because of COVID. And I don't know if there was some COVID thing going on or contact tracing or any of this other nonsense that they have to deal with now. So, but I know in the past you could travel with, I think it was 12 guys you can only travel with, plus staff and blah, blah, blah. But I don't know what the deal was. But I saw that tweet and I was like, that's just phenomenal.
Well, talk about team effort. 19 assists that turned into 31 buckets. I mean, that goes back to that ball distribution. I mean, it's like, I'm not picking on Michigan State here, but, they're guys like Aaron Henry. They're having to create things off the dribble on their own. And Aaron Henry's playing pretty good, and he's able to accomplish that, okay? But you're not seeing what you're seeing, and you're not seeing what Michigan State used to do in ball distribution. No. That's so key. And when you can have your assist to turnover ratio, and their turnovers are single digit, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you want. There's your metric of a winning formula.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, they were at 19 assists and 7 turnovers, and you're always going to have a couple turnovers. That's just the nature of the game. Playing that high level. So I mean, to keep it under 10 and then have 19 turnovers, that's the distribution. That's guys being unselfish. That's guys looking for their teammate who's going to be wide open. That's Isaiah Livers at the in under 1 minute, he penetrates to the elbow and could have forced up a jumper, but pivots and finds Eli Brooks cutting to the basket for a layup, which basically sealed the game for him. Where he could have forced that up. But he's you know what? Somebody else has got to be open because I got 3 guys around me. It's a mentality that is a championship mentality.
Okay.
And it's a championship mentality that's more than likely going to lead to a regular season championship. And I mean, anything's possible. I was a firm believer that this was a Final Four team, but after seeing the way they handled a really, really good Ohio State team, I don't think a national championship's out of the realm of possibility. I don't think this is Michigan fans like, oh yeah, we can win a national championship now. No, this is a real thing now.
Yeah, it's you have a good game, and one of the officials told one of the Michigan players during coming off a timeout, this is a really good game. I mean, it's like when you hear that kind of comment, I mean, that's about as candid and transparent as you get.
Yes.
That the referees were like, wow, this is a high caliber game. Okay, so we know from our understanding, Michigan's 11-1 now. That's 12 decisions, 12 games in. They're only going to play 5 more. We're here. Okay. And My God, it's brutal. It's downright brutal. Well, let's just look at it. I don't have the
Oh,
schedule in front of me, but I'm going to remember.
yeah,
I can remember it by heart. Maybe you can
yeah,
help me out. But
yes.
it's Iowa on
Thursday,
it's Iowa on Thursday, and then Indiana on
Saturday,
Saturday, and I think Illinois is on Monday, something
Tuesday.
like that.
It's on
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Okay.
Illinois is on Tuesday, and
Okay.
then Michigan State's on Thursday, and then Michigan State is on Sunday.
Sunday. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that, or I was hoping that Iowa game would this week would be on Wednesday instead of Thursday, because now you're going back to that old fashioned. Even before you played, Chris,
Yep.
they had a 2-day gap,
Mm-hmm.
or between. It used to be a Thursday or a Saturday, and you had travel partners.
Mm-hmm.
You were too young to remember this, but
Of
and then
course. Yeah.
Michigan State be travel. They'd switch opponents, so it'd be a Thursday. The games were played in the Big Ten Thursday and Saturday. That was
Yeah.
it. There was,
Mm-hmm.
and it was not TV driven,
Yes.
but so it wasn't a big deal of a 2-day turnaround now. But by today's standards and what all the playing that is up ahead and behind them, that's a lot of turnover. So anyway, it is what it is. They got to
Yep.
play on Thursday and then turn around to play Indiana, a desperate Indiana team.
Mm-hmm.
Call me crazy, but the game I'm really worried about, well, besides Illinois, but second to that is Indiana. Or am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy at all. I mean, the way Indiana plays at home, it's kind of like Rutgers. Rutgers will give you a good game on the road, but playing them at home, it's a totally different team. Indiana's the same way. They play
Yeah.
so much better at home, even with Assembly Hall being empty. They still play harder at home. They still shoot better at home. They're just one of those teams that they want to be at home. That's that's going to be one of those games where you have to watch out for it, because you don't want to be let down regardless of win or lose against Iowa. You don't want to say, we're gonna get through this one because we got Illinois coming up next week. We got Illinois coming up in 72 hours. Like, we got to focus on that. No, you've got to focus. You got to dial into this Indiana team, because they got a couple horses. I watched them play this weekend, and they are tough. They got a couple.
They let Michigan State. Michigan State was down by 13 and came back and beat them. So it's not like it can't be done.
Yep.
But still, this is a crazy thing. When I talked about that, they're only going to be playing 17 games.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to get really sticky, if you will, for lack of a better term, of determining who the Big Ten champion is. It might be up by a percentage, but the only way to offset that is to get as big of a gap in the loss column that it's going to be undisputed Big Ten champs. Okay. Yep. And the way to do it, it'd be nice.
That's all you have to do. All you have to do is play. Then you don't have to worry about any of the math, any of the other things. When I was still playing professionally, I'd tell the guys coming down the stretch, we got to get up by 10. So that way we're not putting the game in the referee's hands.
Yeah.
You want control of your own destiny. You don't want to be you don't want to be sitting there against Michigan State and watching, Iowa play or watching Illinois play, like hoping they lose so that way you win the Big Ten regular season.
Right.
Especially with what we've done so far, you want that all in your control.
But I will say this, Chris, and we're both within a mile of the MSU camp. You even closer. I wouldn't mind Michigan State beating Illinois tomorrow night. I mean, I actually want Michigan State to win a basketball game, because what that's going to do, it's just going to push Illinois further back. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no harm in that, right?
Yeah, it'll push Illinois further back, and it'll make them more hungry. So that game next week will just be that much better.
That's true.
I mean, and it'll give Michigan State just a little bit more hope that if we steal one of these or possibly both of these against Michigan, maybe we'll get over 500, win a couple games of the Big Ten tournament, maybe we'll make the big dance. Okay. So I actually like that. I'm not going to cheer for Sparty, but I'm not going to, say
you can't lose either way. You can't lose either way.
It's one of those situations where it just everything kind of works out in that game for Michigan fans.
Right. You're right, because I don't like my team playing a team coming off a loss. And you're right about Illinois. If Illinois loses, and Illinois has got to go to Ohio State, I think.
Yep. I think so. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot.
There's a lot of basketball
to be played. Lloyd Carr we used to say there's a lot of football to be played. Well, there's a lot of basketball to be played. And but the only thing is, what Michigan can do is like you said, control their own destiny, continue to do what they're doing. And I also think now, since the pause, that's 3 games they got under their belt. When do you think that will sequence in where they will be timing wise, cardio wise, back to where they were before the break? Is it going to take a few more games, or do you think they're there right now?
Thursday. I think it's
Thursday.
Iowa. They came back. They played a couple games, really quick after their break, and now they've got 4 days until their next game. Now 3 days till their next game. They get some practice time. They maybe get a day off or take it a little bit lighter. Get your legs back under you. Get your wind going, and then you take off and you play. I don't see there being any of the the COVID hangover coming into this game on Thursday. That all should be way behind every single guy in the roster.
Yeah, well, I mean, they navigated that way, and that's another thing about this amazing team. Because you talk about the challenge of the schedule, you talk about, just the uncertainty going into the season. Mm-hmm. How about the 23-day pause? That's a challenge. That was something that was conquered by this Michigan team, and it's all a great storyline if they can somehow cut down the nets.
Yeah, I mean,
on a certain Monday night in April,
this team they've been able to step up to the challenge on. The only one was, they beat the Tar out of Minnesota. And then a week later, then you got to go up to the barn. You don't have Eli Brooks. They turned the ball over, kicked it all over the gym. You're going to lose that one. That's the only time they haven't stepped up and responded to a challenge.
But you know what? And then
they stepped up and met a challenge and succeeded. They took care of business after the COVID break with Wisconsin. Right. They beat a good Rutgers team. Every time there's a challenge in front of them, they step up to it.
But go back to that Minnesota game for a second. That Minnesota game. Now, Ohio State had, the four forwards I was talking about, and nobody physically able to match Hunter Dickinson. Mm-hmm. Minnesota had that guy. They had the big dude. And so this is where Kofi Cockburn at Illinois could be the guy. He could be that guy that could create some havoc. And Ayo Dosunmu, in my opinion, I mean, as great as I think Luka Garza is, and I think he's a terrific player. Mm-hmm. If there's one dude I'd like to have playing for me in the last 3 to 5 minutes of a game, it's Ayo Dosunmu.
Yep. At the end of the game, I'll take Dosunmu all day.
He is a gamer. That dude is a flat-out gamer.
For that, give me Luka Garza all day.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
The last 3 minutes, I want Dosunmu because he'll make something happen. He will make a play to win the game. Luka Garza will give you 30 during the course of the game, and he might make a play or a shot at the end. But that's kind of, not really his thing to take over a game at the end. Where Dosunmu's his lights come on, and he's like, all right, let's go. It's I definitely agree with that statement. But I'm really interested to see the matchup between Luka Garza and Hunter Dickinson this week.
Oh man,
it's not a good matchup either way. Luka Garza is going to have to play post D. He's going to have to guard Hunter Dickinson every time down the floor in the post. And if Hunter's smart and goes at him, maybe he can draw fouls. Yeah. Now on the other side, Hunter's going to have to go out and chase him around the 3-point line.
He is.
He wants to shoot those 15-footers. He wants to do all this stuff. Plus, he wants to go down in the post and bang with him. Yeah. I don't like the matchup either way. I'm not incredibly confident in it. So.
Well, I mean, just get out of this Big Ten. I mean, it's like, let's go back to that Rutgers game. Michigan beats Rutgers. That's like playing a number 7 or 8 seed team in the tournament. I mean, that's a decent team. I mean, that shows you you're in this Big Ten season, Chris. I've never seen a caliber of play, and maybe I'm wearing Big Ten love goggles here, but that I would think would prepare a team for the NCAA tournament for all these Big Ten teams going into the Big Dance. I mean, this is crazy what they're going through every game.
Yeah. I mean, they're all battle tested. They've all been through it because, you think you've got a nice, easy game coming up against Indiana at Indiana, and they're not ranked, so we should be able to beat them, no problem. And they're bookended by Iowa and Illinois, so we got to worry about them.
Yeah.
Well, then Indiana sneaks up on you, and then Michigan plays yesterday at Ohio State, top 5 teams, and then Gonzaga's playing St. Mary's.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
The guys at St. Mary's.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's not the same type of, getting you just ready for it. And that's why, the last 25 years, you have to give Izzo credit. He will play anybody, anywhere, anytime to get his guys ready.
Yeah,
this time of year, normally his team is hitting their stride because they're battle tested. They've been through it. They've played the toughest teams and the toughest schedule and all this other stuff to get ready. Well, now he just doesn't have the talent, but the Big Ten is so crazy good. There's 8 or 9, possibly 9 teams from the Big Ten that might get in the NCAA tournament.
Oh yeah. Gonzaga is not playing Portland State and Pepperdine, you know. And I mean, when they play Big Ten teams, I mean, they will be in for a rude awakening. They could, you know, and I'm not, you know, I've seen them play and they beat Iowa, so I give them a lot of credit.
They beat Iowa early in the season. Yep, absolutely.
Yep. So, but I could see that be a vulnerable situation, but I want to get ahead of ourselves. Anyway, we got so much to talk about. We're gonna, you know, obviously talk next Monday night, if not sooner, because these games are coming rapid fire, and this is so much fun when your team is playing the way they are.
Man.
So,
looking at the schedule, I mean, Tom, this is just it can't get any better coming down the stretch in February.
No,
you know, it really. I mean, you get 2 shots at Michigan State within 4 days. I mean, that's
like a hockey series.
Dream scenario right there. You know, I mean, that's what you play for. Yeah. You know, and then. Oh gosh, I'm looking forward to these next 2 weeks.
Let's just embrace it and savor it, you know. And hey, it's getting
like we know last year. At any point, they could call up and say, "Oh, the tournament's down or the season's shut down for COVID or whatever." So just enjoy what we got for now and move forward.
All right, CY, outstanding job as always. Down in the blocks with Chris Young, and we'll talk to you next time. And Major Go Blue to you, my friend.
Right. Go Blue, Tom.